Hi everyone. The theme for International Women's Day this year is Women in Leadership. There's so many inspirational female leaders out there, not to mention those who have led us through the pandemic. The amazing doctors and nurses who work tirelessly, the female police officers who have maintained our safety, and the female scientists, including Sarah Gilbert, who led the team behind the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine.
Hello, my name's Steve Hickman. I'm the Director of Key Stage 5 here at Canons High School, and I've been asked to talk to you a little bit about International Women's Day. What a wonderful opportunity for us to celebrate women's achievements and for us to consider the issues around gender equality and everyday sexism. We don't yet live in a society where we have gender equality, and it's important that we're able to discuss and talk about why and things that we can do to make that better. When we look at women in power, we know that of the 650 MPs in the House of Commons, only 147 are female. That's about a fifth of Parliament. When we look at women in the media, there's a lovely thing called the Bechdel test, where if there are two female characters in a movie and they're talking to each other about anything that isn't a man, then it passes the Bechdel test. Very few movies in the top 10 pass the Bechdel test, one or two. And that's pretty low as a bar, really. Of the top 100 movies of all time, only 28% of the speaking parts are done by women. So women's voices are not really getting through there. We know that 84% of front page news articles are written by men, and we know that 10% of guests on the comedy programme Mock the Week are women. So again, it's about women's representation and women's voices. Men seem to dominate. When we look at employment, women still earn on average 20% less than men. Now, I don't understand why this is not a massive issue, a much bigger issue. And when you look at the City of London, that rises to around 33%. Women on average only get a half of the bonuses of their male counterparts. And I suppose there is a real thing in the glass ceiling in that not as many women get to the top of organisations. Of the top 100 FTSE companies in the UK, only 5 currently have female chief executive officers. Why is this important? I think representation is important. If women are not getting to the top of society, the top of organisations, their voices are not being heard, and therefore policies and things will just carry on as they were. When we look at education, we know that girls tend to do better than boys in school, around 10%, but we still have very clear gendered subject choices, so we haven't quite got gender equality there either. So International Women's Day then is important, an important chance for us to talk about why, but also an important chance for us to talk about what we can do to change things. Now, there's a lot of hope on the horizon. Things are changing, particularly in my own disciplines. As a psychologist, historically we've been very male, pale and stale, but there are some really exciting female leaders in the domain coming through. I personally love Sarah Jane Blakemore from UCL. I think she is one of the best, clearest psychology writers that I know. And also we must remember that our founding fathers and mothers, Elizabeth Loftus, who is still with us, she's a famous cognitive psychologist, is probably one of the most famous scientists of all time. So there are some academic role models there, and in terms of influence in society, we can look to other countries for some wonderful role models. Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States, and here in the UK we've got some really wonderful people like Dr. Rosina Allin-Khan, the MP for Tooting and the Labour frontbencher. So change is on the horizon, but it's an issue we need to be very aware of and we need to keep talking about. And I'm very happy that we here at Canons are celebrating and marking International Women's Day. Happy International Women's Day. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Charlie and I work for an education technology company in London. The tech industry is male dominated, as is the team that I work within. Women in leadership means so many different things to me. As well as women being in charge, it also means championing the ideas that come from women and encouraging innovation from women too. The key thing for me to remember, and for you to remember, is that there's no one-size-fits-all version of what a leader is. We should encourage leadership in all its forms in order to create a more inclusive world of work.
Hello everyone, my name is Clare Mc Donagh and I work at Miller Insurance in the City of London. I've been asked just to take a couple of moments to really say what International Women's Day means to me. I'm a very proud mum of two beautiful, hard-working little girls, but also have a very successful career in the city. International Women's Day is where I really can take time to reflect on my life and how proud I am to be able to recognise the progress I've made in my career, but also in my personal life. It does provide me with an opportunity to have positive discussions regarding the importance of gender balance and celebrate wonderful female role models. I've been very lucky to have some really inspiring women close to me in both my work and personal life, and I think it's a great time to take a moment and just appreciate and reflect on their success and their journeys also, as well as my own. So that's what International Women's Day means to me.
Hi, I'm Joanna. I studied engineering design and I'm currently the QC and applications engineer at Shadow Robot Company. So I have a really hands-on job which essentially involves me playing with robots all day. And it's definitely the most diverse place I've ever worked. So we have a really strong representation of female engineers and we have a female head of software too. So International Women's Day to me is a really great day to celebrate all of the women in STEM and in leadership roles, which I think is super important so that we can have a balance in the workplace and so that we have mentors and role models that we can relate to.
Hi, I'm Lucy Morecambe and I'm the Faculty Leader of Sport, Health and Wellbeing at Canons High School. I'm celebrating International Women's Day by celebrating the achievements of women in sport as well as challenging equality. Sport has such a tremendous impact on confidence, resilience, positive body image, developing your ability to work in a team, as well as developing fitness and many more. Within our team, we strive to ensure equality in all of our provision, as well as challenging stereotyping. There are so many women's achievements to be celebrated in sport, including those who have recently been awarded. Jockey Holly Doyle, cyclist Dame Sarah Story, grassroots rugby player Zainab Alima, footballer Leila Benares and influencer Alice Leving, as well as the achievements made in women's football, netball, rugby, sailing, cricket, boxing, athletics, just to name but a few. International Women's Day helps not only celebrate women's successes but illustrates the fight for equality. There has been significant improvements in pay, coverage, sponsorship and profile, but there are still significant gaps. I choose to challenge, to support equality in sport and further our quest for a level playing field.
For me, International Women's Day is about celebrating the achievements that have been made to date, about celebrating the progress that has been made, and about celebrating the women who made sacrifices. But it's also about acknowledging that there is more work to be done. I want every little girl who's told that she is bossy to be told that she is a good leader instead.
Hi, I'm Karla. I'm currently the COO for Orpheus Cyber, and Orpheus is a cybersecurity business that solves problems for third-party risk and also offers some solutions around cyber threat intelligence. In addition to my role there, I also have 3 non-exec director positions, which are positions where you go in and advise other businesses on their strategy. Although I might seem old to all of you, I'm actually relatively young and only sort of 15 years into my career. So to achieve positions like that at a relatively young age is pretty exciting for me, and also I think can be directly attributed to the fact that I have come up through mostly male-dominated industries. So after going to university, I started my career in a variety of sales and recruitment roles, both of which are often quite dominated by men. When I was in my 20s, I set up my own recruitment business, which was focused on cybersecurity, and I founded that, scaled it, ultimately sold it, and have also built and sold another business within the cybersecurity area as well. So throughout my career, I've managed to build and sell 2 businesses. I think having worked in male-dominated industries has been a real benefit to me, and I think there are certainly some things that are worth considering if you're looking at what opportunities might be available to you or what career might be of interest to you. Now, it's not without difficulty, particularly as you get older. There are new challenges that come up. So I'm now a mum of 3. For a while I was a single parent as well, and there are definitely some challenges that are unique to women in the workplace, and hopefully those will change. They are certainly changing, and I'm seeing some real positive signs post-pandemic where men have actually taken on more caring responsibilities. So I hope that that's a real trigger for some more equality at work, but there are definitely challenges. One of the benefits, however, is that as a woman in a male-dominated space, you do tend to stand out. Now, one of the secrets to being successful in life and in work is building your network, and it helps when people remember you. And so actually, if you're one of the only women in a room of 20 or 50 people, and quite often I've been the only woman in a whole team, people do remember you a little bit more. So that can be a real benefit. And there are some benefits that we're seeing within the cybersecurity industry as well. So I've researched this area quite extensively, and women are being paid more quite often than the men in cybersecurity, sometimes up to 30% more. So that's a pretty exciting place to be. There's quite a lot of complex reasons why that is. Generally, I think it's because women bring different skill sets. They tend to come with different backgrounds. And I'm sure that supply and demand also plays a part in that. So actually, if you're thinking about what your career prospects might look like, looking at areas that don't typically appeal to women, or you don't necessarily associate as a career path that women undertake, or where you're just not being marketed those careers in the same way that maybe the boys are, there's actually some real benefits to considering those as careers and career opportunities. Resilience is another big thing that you're going to need if you're looking at these sectors. So one of the people that's always inspired me is Hillary Clinton. I really like how she's demonstrated resilience throughout her career. And that is a really key thing you're going to need. There are times when, if you are the only girl in a team of 10 or more men, that the jokes, the banter, some of the challenges you're going to face where people don't necessarily think you're as good as you are, where people underestimate you, that's going to require some real resilience. It can actually be a really great thing when people underestimate you. It does mean that maybe they're not expecting some of the things that you then come out with, and that does also have a benefit, but it can be really, really frustrating. So building that resilience is going to be very important. One of the reasons why I think women are doing really well in the workplace at the moment is there's been a massive campaign by businesses to increase the amount of women at their leadership team, and also then obviously further down. So another one of the women that I really look up to is Helena Morrissey. You should look her up if you don't know who she is. She was a very successful female within the banking sector, and she now sits in the House of Lords and has campaigned for women to make up 30% of board roles, which is now happening. And I think that's going to have really great implications for women in the future. So it is a pretty good time to be thinking about careers for women. There are definitely more opportunities that are coming through, and I'd really encourage you to consider careers which maybe you haven't been thinking about before. Cybersecurity is a great one. Even starting businesses, we tend to see a lot in the press about mum-based businesses, but women don't have to just start businesses that are based on things for women or things for being a parent. There are plenty of opportunities. You can start a business in literally anything, and we're certainly seeing a real push for more female founders to get funding. And I think as we see more awareness of the challenges that women face in the workplace, we're also seeing more programs to help us overcome them. So somebody that I've follow more in my personal life is Catherine Ryan. I really like her brand of comedy and how she calls people out for plenty of the things that we see that are not necessarily focused on equality in the way that we would like. So it's always really useful for me to follow women that actually have that perspective and who will show us that actually the things that we might accept in society, we might come up against on a day-to-day basis, aren't necessarily fair and aren't necessarily right. And I think there's definitely an opportunity at the moment for us to see those things and for us to make a change. It's obviously International Women's Day this month, and there will be lots of comments that you might sort of see that float around social media and things that I would encourage you to think differently about. So one of the things that often gets put out is that it should be the best person for the job. We shouldn't be giving women special treatment or any minority group special treatment to get roles. And if we could all just agree to, hire the right person and to not be discriminatory, then the world would be a better place. But actually, that isn't really working. If that was working, then we wouldn't be in the situation we are. So do try and think more critically about those sort of comments. Nobody wants to be given a job just because they're female. We all have to go and be capable of those jobs and work hard at them. But women face a lot more barriers to getting those jobs in the first place than men do. So it would be nice for us to be in that place in the world, but we're not there yet. So if you see those sort of comments, maybe just think about them a little more critically. Think about the challenges that women and other groups do face and how we can make the world a better place by disagreeing with some of those comments. Ultimately, though, I do think that the world is changing, and I do think that there are some really great opportunities for women as we progress through our careers, and I think the world is going to look very different in the next 10 to 20 years. And that really all starts with people like you who are in education at the moment. If we're going to see changes in the workplace in 10 years, we need people who are in education now to make choices about their careers and the things that they study that enable them to go and take on those careers. So really think about what interests you and obviously what you're interested in and might want to explore further, but also consider why you might be interested in those things. Are you perhaps interested in them because you've been pushed in that way, or because your teachers, family, society tells you that that's a good career for you? Could there be an area that might be typically more associated with boys and with men and male careers that actually might be really, really interesting that you could go and explore?